Hello, I'm going to use this video to tell you a little bit about how to understand the information that you can find in Bosworth Toller's online Anglo-Saxon dictionary. What you can see at the moment is the home page of the Anglo-Saxon dictionary, and you'll see that it's found at bosworthtoller.com. When you click into the search bar to look up your Anglo-Saxon word, you'll find that some options appear to the right, and this enables you to put in the ash letter and thorn. Now, thorn and eth is the letter that looks like a D with a line through the upright, are interchangeable. So if the word you're wanting to look up has eth in it, you can replace it with thorn when you're typing it in. Now, what we're going to look up first of all is beam. So I'll just type in that, and you'll see that we get drop-down options appearing straight away for us to choose. If we couldn't see what we wanted, we could click on the green search button. And you can also see that there's multiple meanings for beam. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but what I'm going to choose is the word for a tree. So I click on that, and we go to the page that tells us about the word beam. Now, before we read about that, we'll just have a look around the page to see what we can do. The first thing to notice on the left is the word wheel. And what that is showing you the words that are kind of next to the word we're looking up. So you can see that there's other versions of the word beam. You can see words that begin with the word beam. And before it, alphabetically, bealuara is the word that precedes it in the dictionary. Now, if you want to jump through those, you can just click on any of them. We're going to be looking at some of them in a moment, or you can use the previous or next navigation options just across the top. One of the other things to notice is that the way the word is shown here has the accent, a little accent over the A, like an acute accent in French. That's more commonly these days, or really as a standard these days, shown as a macron. And the macron is now put over the first letter where you've got two vowels together, like this EA, this diphthong, EA. You can change this view if you want to, using these A letters at the top of the screen. This one in the middle is to put the macron on, and it indicates the length of the vowel, whether it's a short or a long vowel. Just to the right hand side, there are some dictionary links here so that you can look up the head word, the word beam that we're looking up in, for example, the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary. If you click on that, you are going to need an account to log in. It will take you to their website, so you can play with those if you want to follow up that way. But let's have a little bit of a look at what it tells us about the word beam. So first of all, it's telling us it's a noun and it's masculine. So that's helpful. Sometimes you're not sure of the gender. It's also telling us the genitive form of the noun. Some words will give you more information than others, and again, we'll see that in a moment. And then it's giving you definitions of the word. And you can see there's lots of different definitions for beam, which you can see are sort of related: a tree, a cross in the Christian sense, a column, a pillar, wood for a ship, stock of a tree, that sort of thing. We can look at examples of the word in use. So beam bode wirde yathingu, the tree boded the counsels of the fates, and it gives you some references here to see where that's come from. And if you click on the reference, sometimes you're very lucky. Sometimes it just takes you to the cover of the dictionary, the Bosworth Toller Old Dictionary. But sometimes you'll get a link to archive.org. We're just going to follow this link for now so you can see what I mean. Archive.org has a lot of the out-of-print books scanned in on it. And this particular book that the quote was taken from is about Cadman's, it's a book about Cadman's writings. It's by Benjamin Thorpe, who's an Anglo-Saxon scholar of the late 19th century. And what is, or in fact the early 19th century, and what is really nice is you can download a copy of this file to look at offline. You can get it as a PDF, you can put it on your Kindle or other electronic reader. You can get a variety of different formats for it. So sometimes that's really nice. You can search the site for other authors. You can click on the link to Benjamin Thorpe, and that will give you his other books that he's written. And he's done a huge number of Anglo-Saxon reference works, so that's always worth following up. However, we're going to close that and go back to the dictionary now. Let's close that reference screen as well. So we can see that there's different examples of its use, and this is very helpful to see how the word is used in Old English, using quotations from various texts, and just to get a sense of how it was understood, because sometimes there's nuances to the word which are easier to understand when you see it being used in real sentences. If we have a look at some of the other definitions of the word, for example, as a splint, we immediately hit upon one of the joys of the Bosworth Toller Anglo-Saxon Dictionary, which is you are expected to be fluent in Latin. So quite often the definition that it gives you, or the translation it gives you, is in Latin. In this case, I can see it means that there is a splinter in your own eye. It'll be, I assume, a quote from the Bible about, you know, before you can remove the splinter from your brother's eye, you take the beam out of your own. So that can be annoying. If you really can't figure out what the Old English is saying and you really want to know, there are plenty of Latin translation options online. You can just type it in and use Google Translate and it will give you a fairly good idea. It's quite good at Latin. The good news is it's usually only Latin. I think there might occasionally be a bit of Greek, but mostly it's Latin, if it's not modern English. So that can be a little bit annoying. It varies for the different words you're looking up as to how many Latin phrases there are. One of the other interesting things that it does is it's telling us down here that in the Northumbrian Gospels, beam is used for in place of boomer, which means a trumpet, and it gives you an example here where they've used the word midbeam. They actually mean cum tuba, which means with a trumpet. And that can be quite useful to understand some of the different dialect forms. Right at the bottom of the page, you've got some etymology information about the words in other languages. You've got some other forms that relate to it. So we can see you've got beigbeam, sederbeam, deathbeam, all these kind of things, woodlebeam, believe it or not. And there's some linked entries as well. And you can see that these are hyperlinks. You can click on them to go and see what's on those pages. Rather than do that, we're just going to go back up to the word wheel and I'll show you what's happening over here. The beam that we're on is highlighted with a little arrow next to it so we can see where we are. Now the word wheel is giving us quite a bit of information. It's telling us that this word is a noun. These letters after the main word give you some information about the grammar of the word. So this is a noun. You get N for noun, you get V for verb. Up here we've got adjective, you also get adverb, conjunction, preposition, all that sort of thing. So if you're not sure which of two words which looks similar you want, try and make sure you choose, for example, the noun and not the verb, or whatever the case is. Let's have a look at this second beam under here. Now this says it's still a tree, excuse me, but what it is additional, and this is because the dictionary itself is actually in two parts. It wasn't completed in one go and was finished off. So this is why it's called the Bosworth Toller. It was the work of two men. And so there is an addition which not only includes extra examples, but sometimes includes corrections. So it may sometimes say, delete this example because it's actually identified that that's incorrect. So sometimes it's worth, in fact, often it is worth checking that if you get this option of more than one entry. There's another entry for Beam here, which is a noun, and here we have the trumpet. So if you remember, just now we looked at the Northumbrian version, Boomer, with a Y. Here it's being spelt with an I, and you can click through onto that to find out more about its use when it's being used as trumpet. And then last but not least, again, we've got some linked words here. And this is kind of interesting because it's a bit of a mix. We've got Chirisbeam, which we'll look at in a moment because it's got a link. But we've also got Sunnabeam, sunbeam. So what this is it's a bit of a mixture. A sunbeam is not the same thing as a tree. And if we look at Chirisbeam, just by clicking on the hyperlink, we can see it's a cherry tree. And again, it links back to Beam, and it also says you can get Chiris trail for cherry tree as well. So that's some of the information we've found out about Beam. If we take a look at another word now, we can see some other things that are interesting that you find on Bosworth Toller. Let's have a look at a verb. I'm going to look at cheosan. This hasn't come up when I've typed it in, so I'm just going to click search. Straight away it comes up. It's in capital letters, so this is the main entry, V for verb. Click on that. It's corrected the macron for me. It has remembered that, but if I close the browser and come back another day, I'll have to reset that macron setting if I want to. And don't forget, if you keep it with the other symbol, it's over the what we would now say is the wrong letter. So what is it telling me about cheosan? So how is this different? It's saying it's a strong verb. So there's multiple classes of verbs in Old English, strong and weak. Doesn't tell me which form of strong verb it is at the moment. There are ways we can find that out, though. It is being quite helpful, giving me lots of examples of different parts of the verb. So it's saying in the present tense, it's cheosas or cheosest or chust, he cheoseth or chust or chist. And this is the plural, cheosath. And then it gives you the past tense, it's cheas do cura. So this is a particular pattern of this form of strong verb. And it's giving you the past participle as well. It's, again, giving us examples here of how you use the verb, which is very useful, both in Latin and in English. And it's telling us there's two kind of meanings to it, really, either to choose or elect or to accept a choice, which is an interesting, slightly different take on the meaning. Again, you've got your etymology down here, linked entries, other versions of the verb, cheosan will have a slightly different meaning, and derived forms as well. So these are all prefixes that can go at the front of cheosan. Unfortunately, these don't link. You would have to type them in if you wanted to look them up. And then one of the key things, and you get this on nouns as well as verbs, it's just, I don't think we had it on Beam, is we have the link to Wright's Old English Grammar. Now, again, this is another late 19th century grammar. Joseph Wright, I believe, was the tutor of Tolkien. And he has written a very traditional style grammar, which has a lot of information about the etymology of the words. But if you look at the later sections of it, you will find information about the form of the verb itself. Let's try taking the last one in the list. If you click on that link and just scroll down a bit, it will eventually come up with a viewer of that particular paragraph. So it doesn't use page numbers, it uses paragraph numbers. The number we clicked on was 494. So if we go down here, we can see 494, cheosan. It's straight away telling us about cheosan. It's giving us the main parts of the verb, and it's telling us what other verbs follow the same pattern. So that's really useful. The other thing is we can see that it comes in class 2. So we now know it's a strong verb class 2. So that's quite helpful. Finally, I just want to show you some extra information that some entries have. We're going to look up the word König, and that has come straight up in my list, so that's nice. We'll click on that. King. It's another masculine noun as it happens. You can see there's lots of words related to it down here. We've got adjectives, nouns. And what we find on this particular entry for König is there's a lot of cultural information about kings and what they did and couldn't do. So you can see that a king, the word König means king. It sometimes would be translated as ruler or emperor. It comes from, the root of it is this Kön, people. So it's son of the people, or you know, it's related to the people itself, which is rather nice. He's a representative of the people and springs from them, as a son does from his parents. So König, the ing denotes descent, like Hastings and all those ing place names that we get. It's the tribe descended from the particular person. It tells you about how he was elected. It says you can use it to refer to spiritual kings such as Jesus, or the king of hell such as the devil. And it's telling you some more information down here about things kings could do, what their responsibilities were, their oaths they made, royal power to pardon transgressions, forfeits to the king, that they owned treasure if no one else could be identified as the owner, about the taxes that they raised, and in fact how they managed coinage within their kingdom. So really the different entries within Bosworth Toller give you quite a few different options, and you may find more or less information on any particular page, but hopefully that's helped you get a little bit of a feel about what you're looking at when you do try looking something up in Bosworth Toller.